services, the better. And I can't imagine that, each of us are more aware of the needs and the possible needs of ourselves, and of each other as we face COVID. So I'm happy today to be here and to talk about, facing facing the uncertainty of change and talking about resilience. I chose the picture that you all see on the screen because it's kind of unclear where this person is walking toward, but they have their foul weather gear on, right? So they're prepared for what might lie ahead. And that's my hope by the end of our time together today, that you feel a little bit more prepared as we walk together into the face of this particular storm that we've all been in. Whether you or maybe a loved one has had the coronavirus, or you've lost your livelihood as a result of the crisis, maybe you've been stuck at home since March, maintaining your mental health can be really challenging right now during this pandemic. There's when there's a danger, normally we go into survival mode and we kind of know what to do, right? We recruit our mental and our physical powers to survive. But with this current coronavirus challenge, it's really different because there's not a clear enemy, that we can see. So today I want to talk about cultivating resilience in the face of this sort of invisible enemy that we're facing, that we're fighting and facing. I chose these pictures of the flowers growing out of the concrete because one of my superpowers is the ability to kill just about every living plant on the planet that I've ever come into contact with, no matter how much I water or don't water. I was not born with a green thumb. And so because of this, I always notice when little flowers are growing in hospitable places. And I think, like, dang it, look, look at these things that are growing, and I can't, keep a plant alive to save my life. So they are the epitome of resilience to me. The purpose of our time together today for me is to give each of you ideas of resilience. And I would imagine most of you are utilizing some or maybe nearly all of the tools that I'm going to provide. So this could just be a review, but hopefully there'll be a little bit of new information. What I know to be true for myself is when I hear somebody else say, hey, yeah, that thing that you're doing or those things that you're doing, they're spot on. Please keep doing them. That's helpful for me. So I may just be giving you that, but hopefully a little more. What I have to say is, like, I miss hugging people. I didn't realize prior to this that I was so much of a hugger. And what I've come to realize is that, a hug for me has been an important part of my emotional restoration. I really look forward to the day and to the time when when I can hug my family and friends, when we can hug people safely. I would imagine that that's true for a lot of you as well. Until we have a vaccine or until this virus has subsided, we have to look at ways to take good care of ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally. And we're going to have to get creative because some of our easy go-tos just aren't available to us right now. So let's talk about some of the basics that many of us might already be doing, but we're going to review them anyway and talk about them. And what I know is that these basics help us solidify our resilience. So the first one is structure and routine, right? If you find yourself losing track of hours and days under the coronavirus sheltering in place, you're not alone. Many of us have found ourselves kind of in this weird, foggy mental state, and we can find ourselves having no idea where big chunks of time or the whole day is gone. It can be helpful when we wake up in the morning to think about things we're really looking forward to, whether it's seeing friends or colleagues on Zoom or physically distanced. Maybe we're looking forward to sharing a meal with our family or our fur family. Research shows, people who both have a routine and something to look forward to each day are less pessimistic and more resilient. If we have experienced, a death in the structure of our lives due to the coronavirus, we can introduce new rituals, and we need structure. We are creatures of structure. So if we find ourselves falling deeper and deeper into a state of sadness or of lethargy, one of the ways to move out of that is to impose some structure and healthy rituals. So I want you to think about weekly calls to your parents or to your kids, or Friday night movie or Thursday night game night, those kinds of things. For those of us working at home, starting at the same time every day if possible, but also taking breaks, getting up away from the screen. Many of us before the coronavirus, those of us who might be working at home, had pretty lengthy commutes to and from work every day. And although those weren't necessarily something we look forward to, the commute itself provided some transition time to sort of shrug off the stress of the day. Now our transition time is walking from the bedroom or the den or office into the kitchen or the living room. And so that's not offering us enough time to transition. I want you to try to think of, ways to have a little bit of a different transition, a bigger break. You're going to have to get creative with this, and it's okay to ask for help if you're struggling with that one. So just our basic daily needs, right? So Abraham Maslow was an American psychologist. He's best known for establishing this pyramid that you see on your screen there, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And he came up with this while he was creating his theory of human motivation. So he believed in order for a person to progress up the chain of the pyramid there, each need needed to be met. And the foundation of that pyramid is our physiological needs. So our biological requirements for survival. So air, food, water, clothing, warmth, shelter, sex, sleep. Although I would say anyone who's been denied sleep for any period of time might say sleep should be higher up on that list. I'm just going to put that out there. If our basic daily needs aren't being satisfied, our human body can't function optimally. And so, the idea is those things have to be our priority first. What I know is like drinking 8 glasses of water a day, not coffee. I can drink like 20 cups of coffee, but 8 glasses of water a day was hard enough before wearing a mask. Now wearing a mask, 8 glasses of water a day is tough, but I'm going to ask you, please do that anyway. So good nutrition also helps our mood. When we're stressed out, oftentimes our tendency is to grab foods that are high in carbs or high in sugar. Foods that are high in carbs and sugar have been linked with depression and anxiety and that brain fog that can be difficult to shake. So try, if you can, fill your house or your lunch bag or box full of yummy, fresh produce and whole foods so that those options are easy to grab and easy to munch on. I just also want to say, please, eat good food, drink lots of water, rest your body, breathe, do those things first in this time that that just feels so topsy-turvy. Doing those very basic things is a real success, and we get to celebrate those really basic successes right now, and I encourage that. Exercise. So I'm not the exercise police, but I'm going to say to you that people tend to exercise less when they're stressed out. And in fact, we really need it more. So exercise is a great pressure relief valve. It strengthens our physiological and our psychological immune system. Engaging in physical activity, especially one that we enjoy, is really helpful, right? So 30 minutes of moderate exercise a day raises the serotonin level in our brain to the same level that a low dose of antidepressant does. So just a free mood elevator and stabilizer. And you can get creative with this, right? Like put music on, have your own little dance party. YouTube, yoga, or Zumba. Just go for a walk, right? Which I did yesterday along the ocean, and it was stellar. It's all good. There's no downside to this activity. Enlist a friend. So we're far more likely to follow through with exercise if we have an accountability partner rather than trying to go it alone. And you're doing your buddy a favor too. So this one is critical, right? Taking time to reach out to friends and family and share our feelings and listen to others and supporting them will go a long way in cultivating resilience. Talking with others who have our best interest at heart makes us feel safe. Use the phone, video, text, email, carrier pigeon, whatever it is that you need to do, however you can connect. More than just providing social support about the current crisis, it's a good idea to use these connections to talk about things you normally would. So like hosting your book club online can create a feeling of connectedness. Hosting a dinner party or just inviting a friend to eat with you via FaceTime or Zoom and talk about positive things and not just the crisis, help sort of move the pendulum back to a place of normal from where it's been. Loving and caring for your pet is a phenomenal way to reduce stress and help us feel connected. What I also want to say about social distancing is that it's actually a misnomer. Physical distancing is what we're doing while trying to stay socially connected. And I hope that we can really begin to use that physical distancing phrase more often and try to have that become the norm. So some signs and symptoms of depression, right? Resilience is a trait that many of us are born with naturally, but it's a state of being that can fluctuate depending on our life situation at any moment in time. Our resilience may erode slowly over time if we're not bouncing back from normal stress or pressure, and resilience can drop after experiencing a significant emotional event or a particularly stressful period, aka COVID-19. Depression varies from person to person, and but there are common signs. There are common signs and symptoms. It's important to remember any one of these symptoms can be a normal part of life's lows, but the more symptoms you have, the stronger that they are, the longer that they might be lasting, the more likely it is that you could be dealing with depression. If you are experiencing depression or symptoms of depression, characteristics of depression for longer than 2 weeks, or if the severity of any one or more of these symptoms interfere with normal functioning, then I want you to please consider seeking assistance from a mental health provider, speaking to your primary care physician. So this guy is actually my favorite visual that we're going to have today. Anger is an emotion that everybody sometimes feels, right? Stub your toe, you know what I'm talking about. If you're feeling angry for a lot of the time, you could be experiencing depression. And that's a surprise for some people because most of us think of depression or symptoms of depression as sadness and crying, covers over our head, unable to get out of bed in the morning. But depression can look like anger. Some of these symptoms can include, being very irritable, being super impatient, hostility, angry outbursts, even at small things, erratic behaviors such as hanging up on somebody or driving aggressively, feeling agitated or restless or even violent. Your tolerance level is low, your temper is short, everything and everyone is getting on your last possible nerve. We want to talk about that. Some physical symptoms that you could be feeling, increased energy, racing thoughts, heart palpitations, or elevated heart rate, chest or muscle tightness. So these are all physical symptoms you could be experiencing. So depression can look like a loss of interest in daily activities. And for many people, this can feel like, I don't care anymore about former hobbies or pastimes or social activities, even sex. You've lost your ability to feel joy and pleasure. Because I'm a visual thinker, I describe things in pictures. So when I'm explaining this symptom, I usually describe it as like seeing your very favorite things that you love doing in boxes on the top shelf of your closet. You can see them, but when you put your hand up there and reach for them and try to pull them down, you can't, they're just out of reach, but you can see them, right? So depression steals our favorite things, but it also lets us see them and keeps them kind of close by us. So it teases us with them, and that can make us feel a lot of shame or self-loathing, as well as just feeling badly. A symptom of depression similar to this one is problems with concentration. So this can look like difficulty focusing or making decisions or remembering things. Loss of energy is another symptom of depression. And so feeling fatigued and sluggish or physically drained, your whole body feels heavy. The smallest tasks are exhausting or take longer to complete. When I'm describing this one to people that I'm working with, I use the example of going to the dentist when you're going to get x-rays at your yearly exam. And they lay that big heavy lead blanket over you while you're waiting to have those things stuck in your mouth. That always hurt me. This loss of energy, depression can feel like just trying to navigate life, walking through life, wearing that big heavy lead blanket all day, every day. Changes in sleep are another symptom of depression. So either insomnia, which, we usually think of the flip side of that, right? Not being able to pull the covers out from over our head, but insomnia, especially waking up in the very early hours of the morning and not being able to fall back asleep, or oversleeping, the typical media represented version of depression. These are also symptoms. So hopelessness, right? This picture definitely feels like that to me. So persistent sadness, anxious or empty mood, feelings of hopelessness and pessimism can make it hard to plan and problem solve. And this can manifest in cynicism, or lack of caring. So what I want to say about suicide is, feelings of wanting to escape and feelings that you believe that you or your loved ones would be better off without you on the planet are two completely different things, right? So it's absolutely normal to want to escape from time to time, right? So me wishing I was in Hawaii, right? Wishing we could take a bath or even use the restroom without being interrupted by kids or spouses or pets during the sheltering in place. Like, all of that is totally normal and to be expected. If you're having thoughts of wanting to harm yourself or kill yourself, that is not perfectly normal. More importantly, what I want to say is that kind of suffering doesn't have to be endured. So please reach out. So life can be painful at times, very painful, and that's to be expected. But suffering isn't the same as, going through a painful or difficult time. Suffering indicates a bigger issue and one that can require medication or therapy or both. You don't have to suffer, and you're not alone. And what I want to say is, if you're feeling like harming yourself or killing yourself, please call 911. Please go to your nearest emergency room. Please call your primary care physician. Tell somebody. You don't have to walk through it by yourself. Um, we're 8 months into the coronavirus, and we've become accustomed to things now like the new normal, right? Um, whatever that is. But man, there's just some things that we never saw coming. We just couldn't have. Hand sanitizer, a must have, right? So what I want to say is, like, stockpiling toilet paper and paper towels are some of the lowest sides of the new normal. Uh, these are things that were never necessary to begin with. But hand sanitizer, I almost started to say, on the other hand, is necessary because we can't immediately always wash our hands, right? So I want to encourage you, lower your level of anxiety by having hand sanitizer in all of your vehicles, in all of your bags, purses, backpacks, etc. So that you aren't having to remember to move containers from one place to another, and that anxiety of pumping your gas and then realizing you don't have it and you're like, ugh. um, please have it. Please have it on hand. Please sanitize your hands early and often, please. Poor Piglet in this picture, right? He's being reminded that masks keep our friends and our loved ones safe. Evidence shows that U.S. states mandating the use of masks in public have a greater decline in daily COVID-19 growth rates after issuing these mandates compared with states that don't. But, masks are a constant visual reminder of the virus, and for some of us, of the danger that the virus is everywhere. And seeing people with their faces covered can it causes us the inability to see facial expressions, for one. And without the ability to see that, some of us can think that people look threatening or dehumanized. What I want to say, to combat this, we got to work harder at making eye contact, at nodding our heads and nodding at people, smiling a little harder and getting crow's feet. I'm sorry, we're all gonna have to moisturize a little more right here at the corners of our eyes so that people know we are acknowledging them and smiling under our masks. We're making ourselves more human. We are being the changes that we want to see. Another thing we just didn't see coming is Zoom and Zoom fatigue, right? Despite the convenience, Zoom meetings are actually more exhausting than in-person meetings. The amount and intensity of tired feeling varies from person to person. But the fatigue often occurs because we're jumping from one call to another. We're on these video calls, some of us, all day long. We're kind of chained to our screens. Believe it or not, video meetings require more attention, more energy than face-to-face meetings. Most notably, that pressure to feel engaged and give jazz hands. When we're on a video conference and we're speaking or presenting like I am right now, oftentimes, if there isn't a PowerPoint presentation, right, you would be looking at my face and I would feel pressured about that, right? And I would be I would be even more nervous than I might feel at this very moment. Video chats mean we have to work harder, concentrating on nonverbal cues, people's facial expressions and tone of voice, the pitch of their voice, right? Things that we might not have had to concentrate on as hard when we're face to face, because we're getting like this whole big picture. Um, in these meetings, in these video meetings, it's like our minds are there, but our bodies aren't. And so that dissonance causes us to have sort of conflicted feelings trying to piece all of this information together. And it can be really, really exhausting, and it can be difficult to just relax into the conversation naturally. We're also oftentimes concerned about our appearance, right? And we might be worried about our kids running around in the background, or our cat running across the screen. These are all things that we didn't have to worry about when we were just sitting in a regular, 9 to 5 meeting before the pandemic. So the reason that I find most fascinating about Zoom fatigue is that when we're meeting face to face with people, when we're in the same room with people and we have eye to eye contact, our brain secretes oxytocin, which is also known sometimes as the cuddle hormone, or the love hormone, because it's released when we snuggle up or when we bond socially with people. And we don't experience that the same way when we're talking on the screen. The flat eye to eye contact isn't the same as when you're looking people eye to eye in person. So some basic things, basic ways to handle Zoom fatigue. Take a few minutes before pressing start. I did that today, right? Get settled, get grounded, take a few breaths, right? Feel your body in the chair. Notice, sort of where your mind is. Allow yourself to arrive in this moment, the moment before you're going to press the start button. And if you're feeling unsettled or preoccupied, stretch, breathe, kind of resettle, and then press start. Avoid scheduling back-to-back meetings, right? So just like any other kind of meeting, back-to-back Zoom meetings aren't encouraged. And I get that you guys might want to be squeezing as many meetings a day as you can. However, we have to make time for ourselves, right? To eat, to use the restroom, to prep, to follow up, to attend to other tasks. And our brain and our eyes need rest in between sessions. Even if you felt like you had breaks in between you didn't have any breaks in between meetings before when you were meeting in person, you did. The time that it took to walk from one room to another gave you a few tiny moments of physical activity and a quick mental break. And this is often not the case when we're video conferencing. We do tend to jump from one meeting to another. This marginless schedule kind of zaps our mental batteries. So to avoid this, try and scheduling meetings with short little gaps in between. Make it a rule to try to wrap up 5 or 10 minutes before the next one starts, and go outside for just a few minutes, please. Let the sun shine on you. Finally, what I want to say is, stop trying to win over the 1 or 2 squares that look like they're Facebooking or Instagramming or attending to their kids or talking to somebody that you can't see in the screen, when you're presenting your heart out. Like, look for the 1 or 2 faces that are looking back at you and present to them. We're powerless over, what people are doing or how they're acting. All we can do is just show up and do our very best. So as we wrap up our time together today, I'd like to talk just about a few tools for you to take with you and to begin to implement into your daily, hopefully daily lives. Some you may already be doing. We already talked about exercise and structure and staying hydrated and eating our veggies and the importance of social connectedness. We covered all of that already. So let's talk about a few other helpful tools that I like to call restorative actions, but that most people call self-care. So because for the most part, a mani-pedi has been basically, off the table since March, consider, massaging your hands or your feet with oil or cream or lotion. Take a warm bath and allow your body to just rest in that warm water. And use the special soap that you've been saving for when a guest comes. You are the special guest. Use it. Use the special soap. Maybe, turn the lights down in your house and listen to some quiet music. Turn your cell phone off and give your full attention to your friend or your loved one or your little furry creature that you share time with. I learned this. Term when I was giving a talk to some folks in Hawaii not too long ago. Hug somebody in your quarantine. So somebody that's safe. Cuddle a pet. Cuddling your pet can be good for connecting and good self-care, unless you have a cat like mine, in which case don't, give yourself a hug then. Don't hug your vicious cat. Take a few breaths and fill your lungs filling. Focus on the exhale and feel the benefits of your body being oxygenated, right? In asking you to practice this, I am literally asking you to put your oxygen mask on first, right? That thing that we used to get to hear when we traveled on airplanes. Be kind to yourselves. Be kind to yourselves first, and then you can be kind to others. I'm asking you to start with you. So the practice of gratitude, having a gratitude practice, is really a miraculous thing. So I used to believe there were people that either were born grateful, and then there were people like me who are not intrinsically grateful. What I've come to understand and know is that gratitude is a practice, just like exercise, just like meditation, just like any of that stuff. And the more that we practice it, the easier it becomes. And the miraculous bit of it is, the more we are focusing on things to be grateful for, the more things that we experience to be grateful for. It's fantastic. So because I'm trying with all of my heart to practice what I preach, I wrote down 3 things today, right? So the 3 things on my gratitude list this morning are: I'm grateful for the way that the leaves are changing right now from green to red and gold on the tree in my backyard, and the way that the sun looks as it's sort of, coming in through those leaves and in through my window as the sun is coming up in the morning. I live in a house that has no insulation and the windows are very old. So the sun looks beautiful coming in, but it's also very chilly. So I was grateful when I cut the heat on this morning, when I clicked that switch and the heat actually came on. That was beautiful. And I'm actually extremely grateful for the opportunity to be able to be here today and to speak with all of you. I am going to invite all of you to join me in a 1-moment meditation. So this is an app that you can get on your smart. So unless you have a flip phone like my father, if you have a smartphone, you can download this app to your phone, either your Apple or your Android. And the app actually, the little face, the little blue square that you see, that's the picture or the icon that you'll be looking for when you are searching for this app. And once you download it, it looks like this picture with the little Apple phone in front of you. How the app works is you open it and it'll look like that picture. And there will be a start button. The app gives you a moment to sort of get settled and prepare yourself for your 1 minute. It literally is just 1 minute. Um, and then a little bell will ring, like the sound of a little singing bell, and it will ring again in 1 minute. So you don't have to worry. Has it been a minute? It's been like 5 minutes. I bet it's been 20 minutes. This app isn't working. What the heck is going on? You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. It's going to ring again in 1 minute. The other thing that I'm going to invite you to do while we practice our 1 moment meditation is to practice a thing called squared breathing or boxed breathing, because oftentimes when somebody asks us to um, practice mindful breathing or meditation, we immediately panic and don't know how to do that. And then we're like breathing too hard or not breathing or holding our breath. Our mind starts getting very busy. This is a way to calm both our breathing and our minds. How boxed or squared breathing works is that you inhale to the count of 4 inside. You're counting on the inside. Holding for the count of 4, exhaling to the count of 4, and then pausing again to the count of 4. So inhale, pause, exhale, pause. You can do that count of 4 as quickly or slowly as you like. I would prefer that you didn't hyperventilate in our minute together because I have just a couple more slides to share with you. So just a slow inhale, pausing, a slow exhale, and pausing. So I want you guys now, if you feel so inclined, get your feet planted on the floor and feel the chair underneath you. Close your eyes and practice this squared breathing. A little bell is going to ring, and it's going to ring again in 1 minute. So let's give this a try together and see what you think. Nicely done. Nicely done. This is just a great tool to have in your back pocket. Just a nice reset any time of the day. Sometimes it's hard to imagine giving ourselves 10 minutes or 30 minutes or a 10-day silent meditation retreat, but all of us, I think we can carve out 1 minute of time for ourselves. So give that a shot. What I would say to you, if you begin to practice it, if you begin to visit this application, is some days that 1 minute's going to go by really fast, and some days it can take a lot of time. It can feel like a long fight, a long 1 minute. But keep at it. The other thing that I want to tell you about this lovely app is that if you download it, it will on occasion send you a little text that says like, hey, got a moment? Or this might be the perfect moment. So it just gives you this gentle, loving nudge to maybe take a minute, but it'll never shame you and it won't spam you. It just lovely reminders. So not to use the flip phone reference twice, but for those of us who are not using a flip phone, on average, we are using social media more than 2 hours a day. And so many times a caring friend or a colleague or a family member, maybe a therapist, might suggest, hey, during the day, what about going for a walk or doing some art or writing or any kind of restorative action? And we might say, like, I don't have any free time. There's no way I can fit one more activity into my day. But if we were to cut down a little bit on that digital time suck in our hand, we might have more time for some fulfilling activities. We have to be really, really mindful right now of what we are feeding ourselves, literally and figuratively. If there is something that you need to know, I promise you, you are going to be notified. You aren't going to have to dig for it. I call it digging for depression, right? We don't have to watch the news all day or night. We don't have to look at social media and doom scroll. That's another term. We don't have to do that. I want you to think about what you're reading, what you're listening to, what you're watching on TV. So maybe less in the car, MSNBC, NPR, Fox, whatever your jam is, less of that, more hits from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, right? Less serial killer podcasts and more, light and uplifting material. Think about, who you are surrounding yourself with, virtually and otherwise. And, choose the people that build you up and feed your soul and make you feel good about being on the planet. That's our job on any given day. Um, Gosh, we've probably never been more clear about what we can't control, right? Like tiny invisible particles, mask, no mask, politics, people, places, things. If you find yourself stuck focusing on what you can't control and you are self-soothing by reaching out for alcohol or marijuana or food or Netflix, just be mindful, right? A little of any of these can go a long way. So if we're spending our day off, our precious time off, watching other people's lives being represented on TV rather than actually participating in our lives, then that isn't really living. If we're using food or alcohol or drugs or TV or video games or social media to check out, then this is an invitation to us, right? To check out our internal reserves. And most likely it's time to commit to replenishing ourselves with some healthier tools and resources. If you find you can't stop using alcohol or food or drugs or gambling or video games or whatever, as coping strategies, there are virtual 12-step meetings 24 hours a day, 7 days a week that you can log into. It's actually quite an amazing time for that. Please consider reaching out to your primary care physician or to your therapist or to a trusted friend or family member or spiritual advisor. On our best day, the only thing that we can control is ourselves on our best day. And sometimes even that can be really challenging. So the way to make that easier is to focus on being as centered and resourced as possible. When we're practicing the basics that we discussed, and then including as many restorative actions as possible, then staying within that center of what we can control becomes far easier to manage. So just a few closing thoughts for us, right? The COVID-19 outbreak has altered our world rapidly and profoundly. And the agility and resilience and compassion and commitment that's been demanded of us during this time has challenged us in ways we could never have imagined. And we know that this pandemic is going to continue to require the very best from us over the winter and beyond. And I know that most of us are ready for this year and this pandemic to be over. I get that. And I'm here to remind you that it eventually will be. But until then, please, please make sure that your mind and your body stay snug and cozy and healthy. Do things that bring you pleasure. See people virtually or safely, physically distanced that bring you joy. Try things that feel fresh and new. I've never seen so many people making sourdough bread in my life. Give, just as an example. Um, we're gonna get through this. We're gonna get through this together. I want to provide just a few resources on the screen for all of you. Um, if you find that you are struggling right now, and lots of folks are, um, Santa Cruz County has a lot of amazing resources available to us to help to resource our mental wellness. So we have North County and South County resources that are up on the screen, and I provided websites available for the ones that have a website available. And I also included on this slide the Psychology Today website, just because it has interesting filters on there. You can put whatever insurance you have, whatever situation you might be facing right now, your preferences in terms of the kind of therapist that you might want to see, all of that stuff. And all of the psychologists and psychiatrists too, and mental health therapists that are on that site are verified and all of that stuff. So you can feel confident that the people on there are legit. Um, what a pleasure it's been to spend this time with all of you. I hope some of this was helpful. I hope that you will use some of these things as often as possible. And if you feel like you are struggling with anxiety, depression, feeling like you want to harm yourself or kill yourself, please, please reach out and ask for help. You don't have to walk through any of that by yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tina, for such a fabulous information that we just got so much out of that. And special thanks to Kaiser Permanente and Dr. Bill McLean for partnering with us to talk about this important topic. This webinar is being recorded and it will be available on the Chamber website at PajaroValleyChamber.com. And we also just want to encourage you, take care of yourself. Thank you again, Tina, for such a great presentation. Thank you.